Time to fly, time to fight, and time to crow. What would it feel like to never grow up? Attain a type of immortality where time just stops. But the catch is that you have to remain a child in mind and body forever. Would you buy into this? In this video, we are going to look at one of the most beloved childhood stories ever told, the timeless story of the boy who refused to grow up, the Great Pan himself. Peter Pan meant a lot to me as a child, and I am sure the same can be said for many of you. And I will always be able to watch Hook 1,000 times, always thinking a grown-up version of Peter Pan was such a genius concept. I have come to realize that there were many adult themes and topics from this original tale, adapted over and again, that I have thought about as an adult now. It is a common occurrence that many authors will plant themes of life and strife inside their works, regardless if they are for children or not, because you can really hide your true intentions behind the playful innocence of youth. In this video, we are going to dive into some of the hidden meanings of this story, looking at certain themes and how they can reveal the nature of the modern world. Of course, on this channel we love dealing with strife in the human experience, so it is a marvel that a story meant for children can have themes of racism, immigration, with death and destruction, showing how anything can be twisted to fit a certain narrative. We never mean to derogate our favorite characters by any means, but rather examine them so we can further understand the human experience through different lenses. As always, these will be some deep takes, breaching on tangents, and peering through a microscope, which is what we do. Being hyper-aware of underlying notions hidden beneath gives us the ability to see through the bullshit that is so prevalent in the world today. These are controversial aspects of the beloved children's tale, so please keep an open mind and let's get it. Yeah? Peter Pan is a fictional character created by Scottish author and playwright J.M. Barrie, first appearing in the 1902 adult novel The Little White Bird and later becoming the central figure in Barrie's 1904 stage play Peter Pan, or The Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up. The story was eventually novelized in 1911 as Peter and Wendy. Peter Pan is a mischievous, adventurous boy who lives in the magical world of Neverland, a place where children never grow up. He is the leader of the Lost Boys and is often accompanied by the tiny fairy Tinker Bell. Peter can fly and has endless youthful energy, but he also displays a certain emotional immaturity and forgetfulness that reflect both the wonder and the sadness of eternal childhood. The story of Peter Pan has deep roots in Barrie's own life, particularly his close relationship with the Llewellyn Davies family, whose children inspired the characters and themes of his work. Barrie was fascinated by the idea of childhood as a state of freedom, imagination, and purity, but he also recognized its fragility and inevitable end, which is why themes of loss, memory, and the passage of time are so deeply embedded in the story. Over the years, Peter Pan has been adapted countless times across various media, including the beloved 1953 Disney animated film, darker film versions like the 2003 live-action adaptation, and numerous stage productions, each highlighting different aspects of the tale. While Peter himself remains an icon of eternal youth and rebellion against adulthood, the story as a whole reveals a far more complex message about what it means to grow up, to let go, and the issues that arise from becoming an adult. Now that we are reacquainted with our favorite lost boy, we can look at a few quotes that will reveal some deeper and darker sentiments behind this story meant for children. I always thought that Peter Pan represented a story of migration and immigration in a way. Don't worry, I'll explain myself. We can see that the original works range from 1902 to 1911, a period marked by great immigration to London from across Europe and beyond. Turn-of-the-century London had become a melting pot of sorts. You may be wondering, what does this have to do with Peter Pan? Well, everything. Because we all know an author's world shapes the themes of their works. From William Faulkner's Light in August to Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn, every great fictional work was obviously inspired by the real-life political and social storms brewing in the author's hometown. During the early 20th century, Europe was experiencing significant political upheaval. In particular, Eastern Europe, including the Russian Empire and Poland, faced pogroms, violent riots targeting Jewish populations, political oppression, and social unrest. As a result, many Jews sought refuge in the UK, especially in London's East End, which became home to a large Jewish community. The Industrial Revolution had also transformed much of Europe, with rapid urbanization and the accompanying problems, including poor living conditions, famine, and economic hardship, which pushed people to emigrate in search of better opportunities. London had already been a major international center of finance, trade, and culture for centuries. By 1910, it was one of the largest and most cosmopolitan cities in the world. This made it an attractive destination for immigrants seeking work or new opportunities. In particular, London's docks, industries, and growing commercial sectors offered employment to many arriving from abroad. The British Empire, at its height, spanned vast regions of the globe, and people from the colonies often moved to London seeking employment, education, or to reunite with family members. Many migrants from places like India, the Caribbean, and Africa were also arriving in London during this period, though in smaller numbers compared to those from Europe. The influx of immigrants to London during this period led to significant social and political debates. Many Londoners were uneasy about the growing immigrant populations, particularly in areas where immigrants concentrated, such as the East End. These tensions fueled debates over immigration policy, social integration, and the so-called problem of the poor working-class immigrant. At the same time, new waves of immigration brought cultural vibrancy, economic growth, and diversity to London. So we can easily see that during Barrie's time, there was much social upheaval going on where he lived. In Peter Pan, the themes of leaving one's home for a new land, the struggle to adapt, and the longing for one's past can be interpreted through an immigration lens. These themes are most apparent in the experiences of Wendy Darling and the Lost Boys. Second star to the right and straight on until morning. I always love this quote because it represents adventure to a new place, and you just know this is a place of wonder and excitement. This iconic line is Peter Pan's direction to a new land. It signifies leaving the known world behind for a destination with a set of rules and values completely different from home. But where do you live mostly now? With the Lost Boys. Who are they? They're the children who fall out of their perambulators when the nurse is looking the other way. If they are not claimed in 7 days, they are sent far away to the Neverland to defray expenses. The explanation of the Lost Boys' origin, including the phrase "sent far away," can be seen as representing the displacement and separation from family that can occur during migration. If the Lost Boys are not akin to migrant children, then who are? They each come from a far-off land, but have grouped together, finding common ground, working together, fighting against the grown pirates to survive in this new harsh land. This is the immigrant story to a T. The Lost Boys, in particular, must conform to Peter Pan's culture and shed their former lives to fit in. I think I had a mother once. This poignant line from one of the Lost Boys highlights how they have suppressed or forgotten their previous lives and families to fully embrace their new reality in Neverland. Go on, go back and grow up. But I'm warning you, once you're grown up, you can never come back. This quote from Peter to Wendy emphasizes the finality of leaving one life for another. The Darling children can't stay in Neverland forever, and their return home and subsequent aging signifies that they cannot go back to being the people they were. The Darling children's experiences reveal the mixed feelings associated with leaving one's home behind. But as a new mother, Wendy's deepest feelings are about being a mom, and it's her love for her children that drives her to create a home for them. Wendy's desire to return home and become a mother is a major part of the story. Unlike Peter, she is drawn to the stability and love of her family, choosing to leave her temporary adventure behind. This reflects the longing for one's true home and the life they were meant to live. So on the surface, one might say that the story has nothing to do with immigration, but we can see that this is a story of people who feel discarded by their former lands and went off in search of a new place to call home. This is the immigrant story, especially during J.M. Barrie's time in London. So he took this and used children to show what it is like to leave one's home in search of a new one, having to conform to certain customs and beliefs, then never being able to return to your motherland under pain of consequence while fighting off a hostile native population. This story is so apropos to what is going on in the world today. The parallels are insane. It seems the entire world is leaving their homes in search of greener pastures, and the native populations are doing their best to accept this. But with these new faces comes new problems in regards to resources and culture clashes. This exact tale is going on in London, where there seems to be a surge in migration from Islamic countries, and with this, They bring their religious and cultural beliefs, and in today's world, we all know the dangers of extreme belief. This is not to take one side or the other. I am merely a reporter, not an endorser. To deny these facts would be to deny your own existence. We are seeing culture clashes in the developed world, where people from the third world are seeking refuge, and we all know what happens when cultures clash and people take the jobs of the native population. It breeds resentment, and what was allowed to happen in the United States with the massive, unchecked migration simply exacerbated this, because then the world followed suit. I do not blame people for seeking better living arrangements. That is not the issue. The issue is following the rule of law at hand. Systems are in place so that these type of things do not overwhelm the country when the floodgates open. But when you dangle freedom on a string like a carrot in the faces of those who do not have it, what do you expect? Shame on ruling parties of the past for such bait and switch, because now there is a man in office that is doing the exact opposite. Two polar extremes a few years apart, and we wonder why the chaos ensues. We all must follow the rules put in place, because when one group of people gets special treatment, it breeds contempt for the others, and it must be the same for all involved, or the system is truly broken and biased. Now, if you cannot see the parallels between the Lost Boys and Indians fighting against the grown men pirates, then I hope I have opened your eyes a little bit. Highly varied groups of humans, fighting for resources and culture. Sounds familiar, right? My last point I can segue into would be what has come up in the modern age with the beloved Disney adaptation of Peter Pan. They have received massive backlash for racist views and showing other cultures as exaggerated and primitive. I am, of course, talking about the portrayal of the Indian tribes in Neverland. There are racist elements in both J.M. Barrie's original Peter Pan story and the 1953 Disney animated film, including offensive quotes, language, and the perpetuation of harmful stereotypes against Native Americans. Pardon me for saying it though, these are some of the most beloved movies. And for people who are not looking for it, especially children, it shows we all love these films until society became sensitive, or more evolved maybe. That is a head-scratcher. From the original book and play we see the Pickaninny tribe. In Barrie's 1911 novel, Peter and Wendy, Native American characters are referred to as the Pickaninny tribe, a racist slur. The Great White Father. The text features the tribe calling Peter Pan the Great White Father, portraying him as a savior figure who is glad to see the Pickaninny warriors protecting his wigwam. Princess Tiger Lily and other tribal members speak in a derogatory form of Pidgin English, with lines like, "Peter Pan saved me his velly nice friend." From the 1953 Disney film, What Made the Red Man Red? This song, sung by the Indians of Neverland, reinforces damaging stereotypes. The song's lyrics offer a simplistic and offensive explanation for Native American skin color and customs. Characters in the film use the racial slur Redskins to refer to the Native Americans. For example, Captain Hook says, "These Redskins know this island better than I know my own ship." Quite savage, John Darling says, "The Indian is cunning but less intelligent," and refers to the Native Americans as quite savage just before they are captured. The film depicts Peter and the Lost Boys inappropriately wearing headdresses and performing a war dance, which Disney itself has called a form of mockery and appropriation of Native people's culture and imagery. Disney now gives warnings about negative depictions and cultural stereotypes. Yes, I know this is straddling the line here, but some of Disney's greatest movies are all cultural types, and honestly I found many of these things endearing at the time, full of character, and did not see a problem with it, even when they poked at my own race of people. It is simply human nature to name what we see, and if people look brown or black, that is what we call them. Yes, it might be ridiculously patronizing, but I do not mind honestly, because this is someone's take on the story, it is their right to it, and if we are being honest, nobody else cared either. If they did care, then these movies would not be some of the most beloved of all time. Are they insensitive? Yes, of course, but I find them comical when I see this now, because it may sound crass, but it is refreshing to see, just like the slapstick humor of the 1990s, that has given way to the curated and manicured lawn of movies today that are lacking in charm and character. There must be a middle ground to create an original take, but not offend an entire race of people. Of course, Peter Pan could have been a racist take from a certain point of view, because we see a large group of grown white men portrayed as pirates, killing ethnic children. I get how this could be problematic. But isn't it funny how when put through the lens of a children's movie, all of these things seems to fade away into the background, only drudged up when truly seen through the eyes of an adult? So what can we learn from all this? Well, maybe that I am insane for getting all of this from a children's story, right? But we have to remember, these stories were written by very real, grown adults with their own views, and we all know what true artists do. We put our thoughts, notions, fears, anger, and opinions into our art. We try to hide it sometimes, burying it beneath lyrics and sweet words, and only when hyper-analyzed do we see that many controversial takes populate the world of children's literature and movies. It is when we descend into clannish behaviors and narrow-minded beliefs that it turns from controlled into a free-for-all, where intelligence goes out the window in favor of emotion. If you have made it to the end of this video, or the end of any of my videos for that matter, you are like-minded family. What else can I say? Because you want a conversation that gets the brain going, not surface-level, kiddie pool shallow thoughts. So remember, always keep that childhood wonder. Don't take things too seriously in this already very serious world. Find the deeper things, what lies beneath the main plot, and dive inside the mind of the creator. Peter Pan taught me what it means to yearn for youth, and what it feels like to be lost in a new world with vague memories of the old one. It is our human story, showing immortality with a price, because to die would be an awfully big adventure. Bangarang.